Parenting is an adventure, and like any other adventure, you've got to work hard and be prepared.
The quest is on.
We're in search for all things parenting. We hear from the kids, from the professionals, and from you, real parents on real issues. It's all happening right here, right now, on Care.
Care, the adventures of parenting.
Hi, welcome to Care. Today it is all about domestic violence. It's been in the media, it's on everyone's mouth. So we brought in the experts. We have Roberta Clark, who's the president of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And we have Ms. Aisha Corby, who is the manager at the Victim and Witness Support Unit of the TTPS. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us. I've had the pleasure of doing quite a few shows now with Roberta.
We're old friends.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. And she's always impressed me with her knowledge of the Domestic Violence Act. So I wanted her on because I felt as though there's misinformation. You know, there are a lot of women who've never read it. And of course, sometimes it could be daunting to the average person to go through all the legal jargon. Yes. So I brought her on to help us break it down to my level. I figure if I could understand it, everybody could understand it. So Roberta, we're going to start there? Wait, what do you want to start? Or do you want to start with the coalition?
No, we can
start with it. Let's
right
start
in.
with what some of our rights are, because then I'll start to punch holes as you talk.
Yes. Well, the first thing to say that people who are victims of domestic violence can do a number of things, but in the context of the law, they can do two main things. One, they can go to the police and make a complaint, and the police can follow up with investigating, arresting, perhaps, and then laying a criminal charge, which would be then heard before a magistrate, depending on what the offense is, or the High Court, a criminal charge where you may be found guilty, in which case you may face imprisonment or a heavy fine. So that's a criminal process. But in 1991, Trinidad and Tobago, with the insistence of women's rights activists, passed the Domestic Violence Act 1991, which was amended dramatically in 1999. And the act is meant to really secure greater protection of victims of domestic violence. So it increases the options of people who are being abused in the context of the home by ensuring that they can go to court and magistrates court, and that's important, I come back to that, to get what the act says is a just and prompt legal remedy, and also immediate injunctive relief. That's how the act defines the objects of the domestic violence legislation.
So you're not going to interrupt here. So that means, well, you're going to have to define what the act talks about in terms of domestic violence.
Yes.
Can I only go to the court after I've been beaten to a pulp? At what stage can I say, okay, this is domestic violence?
Yes. Well, domestic violence is defined by the act as physical, sexual, emotional or psychological or financial abuse. And each one of those things is defined. But let's start with physical, because that's perhaps the most apparent. Physical abuse is action
if he slaps me on my face.
Action that causes harm, yes. So a slap, even a threat of a slap can constitute physical abuse or a threat of physical abuse. Wounding, serious bodily harm, the things that the police talk about, using knives against you or throwing objects at you, of course threatening to kill or murder, assaults, So from simple assault, which let's call it simple assault, which may be just a slap, I don't want to say
or
just.
Or a threat of a slap.
Or a threat of a slap, down to, all the way down to really serious injury.
So I want to drive that home, that domestic violence is not defined in the late stages. It's very early stages.
Very early.
You can go and make a report, even with just a threat. Yes? Am I correct?
Yes.
You can make a report with just a threat. So you have two things. You can make a report, or you can go straight to the magistrate's court.
You can go and apply for a protection order. So you can make a report that a crime has been committed against you or has been threatened to be committed against you. So you can do that, and you go to the police. Or you can go to the police, and ordinarily the police will also tell you, apart from what we will do or should be doing, you can also go to the magistrate's court and get a protection order.
So I can go to the magistrate's court without going to the police?
Exactly.
Yes. Where is the magistrate's court? Which one of all the different buildings?
Well, the magistrate's court's all over Trinidad and Tobago. Is that right?
Yes, there's Portisville Magistrate Court. There's Portisville Magistrate Court there. Arima Magistrate Court, Princeton.
Down,
So there are a number
Sandy
of
Grande,
magistrate courts throughout
Tobago.
the country.
I'm not sure
Not
y'all
Anthony.
know, right? But I get drafted into a group called Enough is Enough, which somehow means that women reach out to me now on a daily basis. And so
Yes.
that's why I'm asking for some real basic clarification. Because, and I will read something, I don't want to get into it yet, but they seem to be back and forth and unaware of this and, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to the court, but I don't have my police report yet, or I didn't get a receipt, and I know that I've sat with you, so that was, and I'm confused, and I'm like, but I thought you could just go to the court.
Yes, you can do. You can just go to apply for a protection order. You can just go to the court. Now, what you may need by way of evidence later on when your case comes up before the
Well,
magistrate.
if I go to the court
Yeah.
with bruises, battered, beaten, and say, look,
Well, at the stage you're going to court, sorry, Ashley, at the stage you're going to court, you're going to make an application.
yeah, okay.
And you say, I've come to the court because I've been abused, or there's a threat of abuse, and I would like a protection order. And then, you know, you'll make your statement, the form will be filled out, and then you'll be given a date. And the date you have to be given a date within 7 days. Yeah, so that's
and
also
do I
about-
need a lawyer at
No,
that point?
You don't need a lawyer.
So I can go and I can represent myself at the court to get a protection order.
That's right.
So someone does not have to feel, well, I don't have the money for a lawyer.
Right, you
I
can go
can
by
go
yourself.
and-
It's designed that way for simplicity, that you can go to the court by yourself. You should get before a magistrate quite quickly, and also that when you're there, it is held in camera. That's the language in the legislation. In other words, it's a private hearing. There's nobody else in court to mark your business, just the magistrate, you, the respondent, and persons who are connected to the case.
What happens, because I imagine then, if I have to sign this application and I'm given a date, do they have to, somebody has to go and serve the person to say, well, you need to go to court or something, yes?
Yeah, let me interject here. So in terms of applying for a protection order, what we found at the Victim and Witness Support Unit is often magistrates or the JPs would recommend that the client makes a police report, and they take that receipt with them to the application. So that may speak to why some persons may believe that when I go to the magistrate court, they are asking me to go make a police report. So sometimes
when you
it's
make a police
recommended.
report, there's a receipt given.
Yes, you can get a receipt relative to what the report was about and the police officer that would have assisted you. So
But actually, it's important to say that that's not a requirement in
it's
the
not a
Act.
requirement.
It's not a requirement, but it helps with your evidence.
But it helps, right.
Yes.
So it is something helpful and useful
Yes.
to do anyway.
Right, it's
And
helpful.
You can make a report at any police station.
You can make a report at any police station, regardless of where the offense may have taken place.
Okay.
So you go to the JP, you indicate what would have happened, you indicate that you want to get a protection order. What will usually happen as well is that you would get a summons. So you hold on a bit and you would normally get a summons. You take that summons back to the police station in the area where the accused resides.
Okay.
Right? When you take that summons back to the police station in that area, the police officers would then serve the individual. So they will try to get him at an address. So it's recommended that you give a detailed as possible address as well as directions as to where the accused person lives. And sometimes where he or she works would be helpful. Right?
Okay.
And as Roberta indicated, you are normally given a date within 1 week because of the urgency. There have been instances, however, based on the severity of the report, that victims are able to get what is called an interim order,
Yeah.
which is where they can seek to engage a magistrate sometimes on site based on the severity, and they may be given an interim order until. So that has happened with some victims in the past. So apart from when the matter is called now, so you have 7 days.
Okay, you're going into when the matter is called, but I have to go on a break. So
Okay.
before you go into when the matter is called, gonna go on a break and then come back and hear the following part of the process.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. It's all about domestic violence on Care. Hi, welcome back to CARE. Today it is about domestic violence. We are joined by Roberta Clark from the Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Aisha Corby of the TTPS, specifically the Victim and Witness Support Unit.
Yes.
Before we went on break, we were talking a little bit about the process.
Yes.
So after the summons is served.
Right, so after the summons is served,
Yes.
so you have the court date, which as was mentioned, it's usually within 7 days of the application date. So then the person will be required to go to court. They can represent themselves or they can seek the services of an attorney. So what the Victim and Witness Support Unit would usually do is assist the victim in being prepared for this hearing, because oftentimes persons, usually women, they are unable to afford the services of an attorney, of a private attorney. So we give them some guidelines, and these guidelines would involve, for example, recording the last instances of abuse, whether it be physical or whether it be verbal or any other form of abuse of which they are seeking protection from. Those various forms of abuse Roberta will go into in a few minutes, right? So we're going to have persons record, they can take notes of dates, times, who may have been around. So when they are stating their case to the magistrate, they're able to share this information. We also recommend that sort of psychological preparation for that protection order hearing. Because you would imagine the whole reason why a victim is going to apply for protection order, because there's a level of trauma, there's a level of that feeling of being unsafe and feeling threatened, their personal safety. So we actually assist persons in preparing for this hearing emotionally. So we may do counseling with them prior to going to the court. We would also assist them in terms of having someone go with you. It's recommended that you do not go by yourself, that you go with someone, a loved one, a relative or so, and also that you try to reach on time. And these may be very basic things that we overlook, but based on sometimes the layout of the magistrate court, it would be helpful to reach on time, because sometimes persons may be standing waiting for their matter to be heard, though the matters are heard in camera, but sometimes you may end up standing next to the accused or so, in applying for a protection order matter. So it's recommended that you go with someone so as to reduce those chances of intimidation or feeling fear that may deter you from continuing the process entirely, right? So you make notations, you arrive early, you have someone accompany you, and you try to recall as clearly and as concise as possible what may have transpired, right? And you follow the instructions at that point of the magistrate, and usually the directions of the magistrate would involve, if the protection order is approved, it's usually a maximum of 3 years.
Okay. Your unit. How do we access your unit?
Right. So the Victim and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it really came into being 10 years ago. So this year, about 10 years in existence, and it came into being realizing the need for assisting persons affected by crime. Because it's realized that, okay, when an offense was taken place, we have the investigation, and persons that are giving us evidence and information, the victims, they need help. They need assistance in coping. How, after you would have gone through a rape or so, how do you put your life back together? How do you continue? And this is where the Victim and Witness Support Unit would have come about. The unit is staffed with civilian officers that are all qualified in at least a first degree in a social science, a relevant social science like social work or psychology. And we also do ongoing training so that persons be equipped to deliver emotional support to crime victims. So our support is primarily in terms of coping with the trauma that persons may be affected by.
So this is not necessarily, if I go in to make a report, I can't necessarily just automatically get your services. I have to reach out to you separately?
No. So you can access our services by, when you make a police report, they can refer you to the Victim Support Office or officer.
Is that happening right now?
Yes, we do get referrals.
Okay.
As well as you can go to the police station and go ask directly for the Victim and Witness Support Unit or the Victim and Witness Support Officer. Because at every police station does not have a Victim and Witness Support Office. Okay. But each police station is covered, so there's a roster where officers would visit various stations where an office is not housed. And these offices provide a confidential, safe space for clients. So we try to outfit the offices in a space where persons can share openly, non-judgmentally, as to what they may have experienced, right?
Is this for both men and women?
Absolutely. This is for all offenses. So domestic violence is one of the offenses that we assist with, but we assist with all matters, be it a homicide.
Once you're a victim.
Once you're a victim, you in need of support, we assist. So, and the support is also very wide. So you may have emotional support in terms of counseling, but you may have persons who may say, well, I'm not interested in counseling. I may just need to get some assistance in giving a statement in terms of how do I prepare mentally for that, or I have to give court testimony. And this is where we come in. So we assist persons in terms of how to prepare for court, how to prepare for other aspects of the investigative process that could be quite challenging, and we also liaise with other social support agencies. So oftentimes victims may experience significant financial losses, or there may be persons that experience some levels of poverty. So we may refer them to another agency, for example, to National Family Services or for public assistance, or we go with them as well and advocate on their behalf to get or access some of these facilities. We also provide updates on investigations. So there are a lot of services we provide.
Is there a specific number to get directly to that unit?
We do have a direct line at our head office. It's 612-2577. And then there are direct lines to a number of our other offices.
Is there
once
an
you
email
contact,
address?
Yes, you can contact us at victimandwitness@gmail.com. So you're spelling out the and, victim, A-N-D, witness, TTPS@gmail.com, and we will return your call or get back to you as soon as possible.
We're going to go on to finance and the family next, because of course, with everything, having a decent finance makes life a little bit easier. So finance and the family is up next.
Never buy new what you can buy used. Social media has revolutionized the idea of garage sales and flea markets. Buying something secondhand not only saves you massive amounts of money over time, it also helps the selling families earn money that may be just what they need to make ends meet. If you've ever browsed through some of the secondhand Facebook groups, you will find excellent quality items at less than half the price of new stuff. Ain't no shame in the secondhand game. And while you're at it, feel free to earn extra income by selling your gently used items as well. I'm sure we've mentioned before that you're too old to fall for peer pressure. Just remember how good it will feel when your bank account starts piling on those zeros, and for once, zero isn't the only number on the statement.
Hi, welcome back to Care. If you are just joining us, well, you've missed a lot. It is all about domestic violence. Today we are joined by some real experts. Roberta Clark, who is the president of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Aisha Corby, who is the manager of the Victim and Witness Support Unit at the TTPS. Guys, well, you're gonna have to get a recording because I can't even begin to recap the information that we've gotten thus far. We were just wrapping up a little bit about the actual unit. What are some of the services? You want to just...
So some of the other services that we offer, because I would have shared in terms of what we do with the individual, in terms of helping the individual cope, we also assist in terms of group interventions. For example, to communities that may be affected by crime, we do interventions with communities. We also do like presentations and workshops with faith-based organizations, private organizations, as well as other governmental agencies, just to share different areas as to how persons can cope with different aspects of crime victimization.
So can I actually get in contact with you and request a workshop for like my church or for a group of... I can actually put in a request for that?
Yes, they can request that once it's within our remit in terms of the focusing on crime victimization. What I also want to mention is that the Victim and Witness Support Unit also has support groups. So sometimes certain areas, because we operate based on the 9 police divisions, and a division may have a higher prevalence of certain offenses. For example, you may have sexual offenses amongst teens in certain areas, or you may have domestic violence or more homicides. And we develop support groups tailored to those needs of that particular division, where you have that kind of collective learning and collective healing of those victims as we seek to help them through the
Are you
process.
guys on Facebook?
Well, you have the TTPS Facebook.
And the TTPS putting all this information up? Because I think there are great things going on, but honestly, I'm not sure that the general public is even aware of these things.
Yeah. So we are engaging in a lot of public awareness and public education, and that's why we have this avenue where we could share with a wider audience as to what we have been doing and what is available. And so those are our services in a nutshell. Of course, we do conferences, regional conferences as well, but those are some of our services and some ongoing workshops that we are doing. Just before I wrap up with that, right now we're doing an empowerment series where we look at young persons affected by domestic violence, 15 years and over, where we share information about domestic violence and intimate partner violence more specifically. This age group would have been selected because at 15, persons usually start to explore personal relationships, or they may be observing it in the home. So we're looking to see how we can educate persons so as to reduce the whole reproduction and of this domestic violence happening amongst young persons.
And persons can just email if it is that they want to get the information, they're searching for it and they can't necessarily figure out.
Yes.
They can email you
Absolutely.
and say, hey, look, I'm looking for a support group in my area, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. Yes?
Yes, and the support groups are interim, so it's not ongoing continuous, it's usually for a fixed time frame.
Okay.
Right?
Roberta, you were going through what different forms of domestic violence. And you know, the physical one is a little bit more in everyone's face. It's funny because a few episodes ago actually, on our confession segment, someone spoke about, you know, dating for 6 years, not realizing that it's abuse because it was psychological, emotional. And then from the time she got married, sexual abuse started to happen.
Of course, yeah.
And we were really fortunate that she gave details because, again, she went in to explain, well, of course, every Trini gonna say, so why she stay there for so long?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? But
Well,
she hadn't
yeah.
even realized, right? Because, well,
not-
I'm married,
and
so
it's-
I don't want to have sex, but the truth is, there is still consent. And even if it's your wife and your wife is not consenting, then it is sexual abuse.
So one thing that powerful thing that happened in Trinidad and Tobago in 1999 was that all rape in marriage was criminalized. And that took a while to happen. You know, there was so much activism around.
So rape in
marriage is a crime.
Okay, say it again.
Rape in marriage is a crime.
So rape anywhere is a crime.
Yeah,
Right.
but because
whether in marriage or not.
But because marriage was an exception, so forced sex in marriage was not defined as rape and a criminal offense prior to 1999 under all circumstances.
Right.
So that's an important thing. But I think what I want to say, this there's this survey that was launched today, the IDB survey on health prevalence. Really, it was about prevalence of domestic violence and sexual offenses in Trinidad and Tobago. And what that study found was 1 in 3 women in Trinidad and Tobago who have been in unions or partnerships have experienced physical, sexual, or psychological abuse of one form or the other. But also, which we will talk about a little bit later, hopefully, 20% of women between 15 and 65 who were sampled in this survey have experienced sexual assaults
I'm
by
going to
strangers.
ask tons of questions about,
By strangers.
about these statistics.
Not by family members. So we know, I mean, any woman walking on the street feels vulnerable to sexual offenses, and we know we have some data on the prevalence of sexual offenses. But to come back to domestic violence.
I want to put a pin, because I have to go on to care tech tip, and I want to be able to give you enough time to deal with these statistics that you're about to raise.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We have care tech tip. And then we're going to get into some statistics, and Roberta's going to go all out, right?
Yeah, it's all out.
Don't go anywhere. You're watching Care.
Keep your information safe. This goes beyond secure passwords and backing up your files. Someone who wants to hurt your family doesn't care about your tax returns. Ask 10 children what they want to be when they grow up. Chances are a few are going to say A YouTuber. When we live stream or give out our location in real-time status updates, we're advertising our location to anyone who cares to know. Not every criminal is trying to abduct your children. Some just want to know when you won't be home. Make sure kids are only live streaming when there are adults present, and refrain from posting status updates that let the world know that nobody's home.
I'm 23 years old. Right. Honestly, I don't remember anything because I just blocked it out. Yeah, I remembered when he was in front of the place getting on and shouting, telling us terrible stuff. And then it made me feel like he's nothing at all, so I just block him out too. I don't think of him as a dad, a man, a father, nothing, not even a human. So, blocked him out completely. I blocked out the abuse, the memory, and him. No, well, the memory is there, it's so much that it's just, I can't just start to talk about it from one angle. It's so much memories. So you just, till it sort of fade away that you don't know where to start from. But me now, I think if I speak to someone, they just throw it back in your face as he used to do, or tell you something that don't understand. And it's just a job to say what I have to say. If I do give them the benefit of the doubt and take the counseling, and then something happen, it will just add to the more memories that are already packed away. So that will be another memory that I have to force myself to pack away onto the others that are already packed away already. So I just say I will just stay away to not even know if it had happened.
Pulling the memories out of the closet is painful.
Yeah.
I could understand. Now, they say, the professionals say that we have to bring the memories out and face them to really heal from them and move on.
Mm-hmm.
No, you said that, marriage, do you want to have children one day?
I have a son.
You have a son.
I have a son.
Are you afraid that some of these memories might cause triggers and stuff? Because they say packed away memories, like you could become abusive, like angry or anything, and you don't even realize sometimes later on, and the triggers are there and you don't even realize it's because of a memory packed away. You ever heard of them saying those things?
Yeah, it's true. That theory is true because I do get on, like, sometimes I don't want to know, like, why am I acting out like this all of a sudden? So yeah, it does trigger plenty. It does.
How old is your son?
1.
So would it be worth figuring out all of the memories packed away? Because I know you don't want to end up next thing triggering with him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would. I would do anything for him because last year, September, we lost his father. He too was abusive, but continuously trying for him, my son. But he too was abusive, but he passed away. So I will do anything because it's not that he's a bad person. He just been abused himself. He was abused himself. His mom had to run, and he kept trying with his father over and over. So that will lead him to where it's really his father's fault. Searching for his father's love lead him to getting his death, I should say. Yeah.
You said sometimes you can see where some things trigger because you say you don't even know where. What do you mean by, like, what are some of the things that you will do that you don't even know where it come from?
Okay, well, if, for example, if I continue to let my little brothers and sisters, if they, or my son, if they're not listening, I tend to like get on very aggressive. And that's the same thing my dad used to do. He gets on aggressive for anything. But yeah, because everybody at my home tend to don't really mix up. They don't know how to approach me. So, plenty of people. That's why I have I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends or even family like to associate with me because they don't know how to approach. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say? You have Trinidad and Tobago listening. So you could say to men.
For starters, mothers, if you're in an abusive relationship, do not stay because of the child, because at the end of it all, they're going to say why you stay, because we do not like seeing it, we do not like being in it, we do not like it just ended. I used to pray for the day I'm not seeing my father home anymore, right? And for fathers, even though people abuse you, maybe your parents or something, you don't have to be abusive. Counseling, praying, try it. It could work. That has really hurt. And you don't have to go down a crime life to see about your family all the time. I mean, yeah, because if they lose it, you really need it in a family. It's a father. You really need it. The young ladies, do not stay in a relationship if it's abusive and believe that it's going to change. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, it's not going to change. Get out as fast as you could because the person is not going to change. And yes, they're going to come to bring you flowers and make you come all the way back. But it's just a waste of time that you could find somebody else. Abuse, don't take it because it will bother you. And bottling bothers you the most. It bothers you the most, don't bottle it up. Find someone that you're going to really trust and talk to, because piling it all up, it will harm you in the long run. Trust me on that, because it's still harming me up to this day, because I have a lot of stuff piled up that I don't even know where to start from. So bottling, you just end up stressing yourself and depressing yourself out and wasting happy times that you're going to be having. And to my family, love you guys the most. And I act also because of the abuse. I'm not willing to trust somebody to speak to. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bully either. I'm very loving and fun, but I apologize for that. And to the person that I am with, I don't mean to always accuse you all the time, but sometimes my life is the problem, my dad. And to my dad, lastly, I forgive you, but I will not forget you. Okay, but I still do love you. And that's it.
welcome back to Care. We're going to jump straight with Roberta, because Roberta, you're about to give us some statistics, some definitions.
Yes.
Let's go.
So 1 in 3 women who've been in unions in this country, married, common law, visiting, whatever, has experienced some form of domestic abuse. Now, I want to speak a little bit about the emotional and psychological abuse, because oftentimes that is perhaps what people think seems to be normal wear and tear of a union, you know, contentious union. They may not understand that that constitutes domestic violence, much as the woman to whom you referred at the top of the program. So emotional and psychological abuse looks like this. For example, following somebody from place to place. Otherwise, we know it as stalking. But that's a real thing, persistently following them from place to place. Or watching, the act talks about besetting. It's not a word that we use in Trinidad or in the Caribbean, really. But watching and besetting, basically taking out someone's home or where they work or where they go, just being there like a menacing presence. This is also constitutes psychological, emotional abuse. Forced confinement. Sometimes men keep women in the home or in the house locked away or in a bedroom. Forced confinement of any duration really constitutes psychological and emotional abuse. Persistent telephoning. I have a case of a mother whose daughter was murdered in this country last year, who says the man will call her daughter 50, 60 times a day and leave threatening messages, or just call and hang up, call and hang up. So this use of telecommunications is also constitutes, it's like harassment, right? Harassment that makes you feel afraid for your life. These are all elements of the definition. And also intimidatory contact with children of the union, or with children generally. So I can't get to you, but I can kind of threaten your child, or menace your child, or make your child feel uncomfortable or coerce. This also constitutes emotional and psychological abuse under the Act. And there's also financial abuse, which is defined under the Act as sort of exercising coercive control over someone's access to money. Yeah, so that you create situations of financial dependence. That's also domestic violence. So domestic violence is not just the hitting and the physical injury, but it's all these other things which in the end contain someone's rights and freedoms and keeps them under control and keeps them fearful for their life and for the life of those who they care about. All of that is domestic violence.
You were talking something about 20% before we went.
Yeah. So this IDB study showed that, as I said, 1 in 3 women have experienced some form of domestic violence. And through their sort of statistical methodology, the study was able to, or is arguing, or is stating, or is asserting that at any point in time in Trinidad and Tobago, 11,000 women are experiencing domestic violence in their unions. 11,000, Marsha, right? Right now in Trinidad and Tobago, that is the estimation based on the statistical inquiry. But the study also found that 20% of women between 15 and 64, that was the sample for the study, has experienced sexual assaults, rape, or some sort of form of serious indecency. That's like 1 in 5 women in this country who has experienced a form of sexual assault. And, you know, so we talk about gender equality, we talk about all of the young women in the University of the West Indies getting ahead, but these are also things that tell us that we have not reached the land that we are seeking, the land where all have equal place, you know, that land, that mythical, aspirational land that we want to get to, that we are not living in that land right now. And certainly there's gender inequality, which expresses itself in violence, and that's some of the things that we have to deal with. I want to say a little bit about what the court is able to do once an application is made. Now, unlike a criminal charge, the court does not, you don't have to prove that this has happened to you beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not that standard, but you have to prove, the Act says, on balance of probability. What does that mean in layperson's language? Well, if I hear your story, Marsha, I think it's more likely than not that she's telling the truth. I don't have to be absolutely certain that you're telling the truth, but based on what you've presented to me and the evidence you've given, yeah, I think it's more likely than not that she's telling the truth, and I can give her a protection order based on what she has said and she's been able to prove. Earlier, Asha talked about, you know, that sometimes police will send you for a medical certificate, or the Justice of the Peace will send you back to the police to make a report. All of this is evidence that you will use when you seek a protection order. Once the court is satisfied, and the court will hear you, and it will hear the respondent, the person against whom the protection order has been applied for. And if the court comes to the conclusion that they believe your story, on the balance of probabilities, they will grant a protection order. Now, a protection order could be any number of things. The simplest one is to prevent the man, to restrict the man from engaging in the behavior which you have alleged. That's the simplest one. So if he's been cursing you, using intimidating language, to refrain from doing exactly the things that have been complained about.
Yes.
That's sort of like the basic protection order. But the court also has the power to remove the offending party from the home or to prevent them from coming. So that's called an exclusion order. And the court then also can grant the abused person occupation of the what would be the shared home, no matter, regardless of who owns the house. So let us say the man who owns the house, it's a couple, and he owns the house. The court can still exclude him from that house for a period of time, not extending beyond 3 years, as Asha said, if they're satisfied that you have shown enough evidence that you have been a victim of abuse.
We're going to go on a break. And I really don't want, because when we come back, we don't have much time.
Yeah.
But I need to challenge, because everything that you guys say in here sounds real good.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I am bombarded on a daily basis with women that are desperate. They've been going to the police service, they're trying to magistrate. I trying to go, well, maybe the act, I don't know, because I confused, because when they come back, it's just not working. Whatever it is, it's just not working, and they're at their wits' end, and they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Just don't go anywhere, because my gas might run out, because I'm about to give some examples when I come back. We're just not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
You're watching Care. We've come to the end. We have just about 2 more minutes. Roberta, Aisha, on the break you had said 64% of cases are not reported. But as it is, we're at 11,000 cases, right? And I don't think that the police service, I don't think that the judiciary, as it stands, can handle it. Whether or not, I don't want to make it a blame game, but the truth is, these are messages that I'm getting every single day. I feel hopeless because and I have a lot of resources. The average person does not have the resources that I have, that I could call and I could this and I could that, and I could say, no, this is not happening, that's not happening. It shouldn't be this hard. Obviously, based on all the theory that you've just given, it's not this hard. What's going wrong?
Right, so based on what Roberta was saying about 11,000 is really an estimated figure as what we assume the volume of persons currently experiencing not just domestic violence, but what they refer to as intimate partners. So it's beyond the household. So the persons not necessarily cohabitating, right? So that's the volume that we have right now. And we have a large percentage of persons who are not seeking help, whether to report it by any means. And there are a number of reasons.
Like they're going to get anywhere.
That's one reason. But we also have the whole issues of cultural norms that constantly impact on how we seek help, our help-seeking behavior, and how we interpret things as violence or am I really a victim? And we have the whole issue of this normalizing or viewing it as normal, the whole incidence of domestic violence. Is it really abuse? Or is it that maybe I'm not a good mother, or I need to be more committed? So we have issues of fear and shame that really kick in. This recent survey, which produces a lot of objective current data right now with women in particular, is that it speaks to the fact that often women would tell their mothers or close friends or loved ones, and they may be encouraged to try and make it work. They may be encouraged to stay quiet. So we have to look at what type of values we are sharing and are being perpetuated in our society. And these values may be keeping women in these circumstances. So beyond whether or not they seek help, We need to look at that. And in terms of seeking help, it's a collective responsibility we need to look at. It's beyond the justice system and the police service to treat with domestic violence in Trinidad and Tobago or intimate partner violence. It is an epidemic, and we need to look at it from a multi-sectoral approach. We need to look at it from a wide, different avenues, faith-based organizations, health institutions, educational institutions, community organizations, looking at empowerment within the family, empowering persons to identify if I am a victim or not, examining the signs. So when we look at it from that sort of holistic, comprehensive approach, then we begin to really put a dent in it. Because oftentimes persons may come to the station and they may just want the person warned. They may not want to leave because they want to keep their families together. Now, is that a bad mother? Maybe not, no. Because most persons are raised and you go into a union and you want to keep your family together. So this is where our society now need to provide options for this type of victim and not shame or blame this victim.
If someone comes to me and they say they're not getting anywhere, where do I send them?
Well, that's a really
What are the
tricky
numbers
question.
to call?
So
Just last week, someone said that they went to the police station and the person say,
Yeah.
"Ma'am, that is husband and wife business. I'm taking that report, you know."
Well,
So
there's
what do
a
you
number
do?
of things
Do you
that-
take their
yeah.
badge number, ask
well,
for their name?
if you go to the police station, first of all, yes, you should get the badge number. Police are obligated under the Domestic Violence Act to take your report. They shall take the report. That's the language in the Act. And not only that, after they take the report, they shall give you a receipt. So now, as you say, this is the theory. It's what's in the Act, but it's not what happens practically. What I think what we encourage people to do in the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, do not go to the police station by yourself. Take somebody with you. And within the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, we are also building on what we call an accompaniment program. So you can call the coalition and we will send somebody with you to make the report. So you have a witness to the making of the report. I think that's really going to be really very important and get police to start functioning. Some police start functioning in a more effective way. So you go there, you make your report, the police they have to give you a receipt, and then they have to investigate and they have to follow up. And I think you have to go back and say, well, what have you done? But again, don't go by yourself. I think first to break the culture of, maybe a little bit of indifference and inaction.
Keeping a diary of all those things.
Keep your evidence that you've done that, but do not go by yourself. I think that's our first message. Do not go to the police station by yourself and go with the witness.
That is recommended.
Yeah.
That is definitely recommended. However, in some instances where persons may not have someone to go with them, we would recommend that they ask to speak with a police victim and witness support officer that may be attached to the division or that particular station. If you feel as if you are not treated fairly, you can ask to speak with a senior. If it is be the sergeant in charge or if it is be the inspector, ask to speak with a senior officer. And right now, the Commissioner of Police have taken significant steps recently to really look at addressing reports or complaints of police misconduct. So we want to encourage persons they can seek those avenues through the police complaints as well as other authorities so as to get that type of service and redress.
Actually, can I just give
But we have less than 10 seconds.
CADV telephone number. The Coalition Against Domestic Violence number 624-0402. We will come with you to the police station.
Okay, and you guys are also on Facebook. We'll put all their information as well on our care page. Yes, you have 5 seconds.
One of the things that we also offer updates on investigations. You don't always have to keep following up. Once you get in contact with victim support, we will update you. And we'll be doing ongoing counseling with you. And we'll even refer the accused to get counseling if it is you want your family to remain together.
Great.
Right? So there are a lot of other options.
Very much, ladies. We have run out of time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Guys, it's been lovely. See you next week. Thank you for taking your Sunday evening out to get informed. Hopefully we could train Trinidad and Tobago one family at a time. Bye.